I'm Shoshana. I'm a bridal makeup artist. Every YouTube video I host another bridal makeup artist. We talk about our experiences in this wedding industry, running our own business. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sara Weinstein. I'm also a bridal hair and makeup artist, and I met Shoshana through work. We're very lucky to work in more like, I feel like the American
Anglo community.
Yeah, community is a little bit more tight-knit.
So my next question is, I'm always interested to hear people's stories. How do they even get into this industry?
So I think that I've always known that I would do like hair and makeup. I think like I was born and I was like, I'm gonna be a makeup artist.
Really?
Yeah. Or like we had babysitters a few times a week, and I was doing their hair and their makeup and use everybody around me as my dolls. I wanted an American Girl doll because I wanted to be able to do her hair and makeup. Yeah, I was very, very vocal about this is what I'm doing with my life. So then at age 12, I was like, I want to do a hair course. Nobody wanted to accept me.
12 years old?
Yeah, because who wants to accept a 12-year-old to like their professional hair school? Then I found like teenage girls like chug in the summer that was only 4 classes. It was like really just for girls my age. And the whole time was just like, I want to be accepted to your real course. I want to be accepted to your real course. Like I just wore her down until she told me that I could. Like that's why I went to her chug in the summer, was just so to convince her to accept me to the real course. And she did. I wore her down, and it was like professional. It wasn't like stam. And then in high school, I did my makeup course. I didn't have school on Fridays, so I used to do it on Fridays in 11th and 12th grade.
Wow.
Like I could do bat mitzvah hairdos like in my sleep because I was like bat mitzvah age. So from my neighborhood, tons of like bat mitzvah girls would come to me. I used to also watch tons of YouTubes of like, I started with Cute Girls Hairstyles, if you heard of it.
Yes.
So I used to watch all their videos. Like
it's so heartwarming to hear that you just went after your passion. Also that you were brave enough to do it at such a young age, to be so persistent to that hairstylist at the time and to like wear her down. Like where did that bravery come from at such a 12 years old?
I honestly don't know. It was probably from my parents. Like, and I sometimes like I need to go back to that. Like, I feel like as we become adults, like we get doubts, and like kids are just very honest. Like, this is what I want, so I'm gonna do it.
Right.
You know. So like sometimes I'm like I need to go back to that mentality.
All right. So I'm just gonna start asking a series of questions that are gonna open up a lot of juicy topics for us to talk about. So the first question is, what drove you to be a makeup artist to begin with, and what drives you now?
Like what drove me as a kid or like my whole life is the artistic side and like the beauty side. It was definitely like the initial thing that like inspired me, and it still does. But on the daily, like I think it's a lot more about things like making my clients' dreams come true and being my own boss and making my own hours. I also find that I really love that it's not the same thing every day. There are certain things that are the same about every wedding day, but there's also a lot of things that are new and exciting.
Wow, I love that answer, and I feel like I relate to it. What drove me at the beginning was really wanting to make my dream come true, kind of almost proving to myself that if I have a dream, I can make it happen. I felt like I could prove that through becoming a makeup artist. But now that I've kind of, in a way, done it, what drives me now, I feel like money. We're adults. We need to make a living, and money is a good driving force.
Necessary force.
Yes. You know, there's always like the why. Why do you do what you do? And a lot of times people feel like it has to be this whole mystical, spiritual thing. But also, like, it's totally fine if what is driving you and motivating you is making a living, like money. It can be something as simple as that, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, 100%. At the end of the day, like, it's beautiful that we're going after our dreams, but it's our job, and we take our jobs seriously. I think that's, I don't know if that's one of the questions, but that's something that I would love clients to know, is that we're a business and we take our business very seriously.
Again, you're paying a lot of money for a luxury service. So if you're paying so much money, we're going to provide a really good service. And I think that's something that we're both very passionate about. Do you have any controversial takes on makeup and hair in our industry?
Yes. I told you this one before. It's very controversial. I don't think we should be doing both at the same time.
So we shouldn't be doing makeup and hair, even though you do both?
I do both. I do both because that's what clients want. But if you ask me, I think that the best thing, and this is what I did for my wedding day, is to have one person for hair, one person for makeup. Hair and makeup are very different. It doesn't mean that you can't be good at them if you do both. It's just, it is like, it's bringing, think about it on a very practical level, we're bringing double the amount of equipment. I could bring half my equipment if I'm coming just for one. And also, it's a very different framework, like set of minds. If I'm coming just for hair or just for makeup, I'm like in the zone versus when I'm doing hair and makeup, I find a lot of times like it's 2 different zones. And sometimes you need different lighting. You need different setup. So stuff like that could really just, I don't know, it's a
There's
little
no
more mystery.
flow.
There's no flow. Exactly, that's the word. There's a lot more flow when you're coming for one.
Okay, so we all know that we are artists, okay? We don't like the business side, we don't like the social media side, but unfortunately with the world how it is today, we have been forced to get into social media. Obviously it sucks, but is there any positive aspect that you found when you started doing social media?
I think I got great colleagues. I made connections with other colleagues through social media.
How did you do that? You just would send them messages or comment on their post? How?
They were the ones usually that reached out and like, oh, are you available for this and this job or stuff like that. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Over COVID, my business actually in the beginning, like there was no business. And then towards the end when Israel went into like, there was a time where there was lots of weddings and then suddenly there was lockdown and then there was lots of weddings and then there was lockdown. Those seasons were very, very busy. And I was getting tons of colleagues reaching out like, are you available on this and this date? And that really helped my business. And I think that a lot of that was because of Instagram. Because they knew me from Instagram. Wow. And then they reached out to me. And I made a lot of connections that way. Because of COVID, which is really interesting. Because in the beginning, COVID seemed like the worst thing for my business, which it was for several months there. But then after, there was so much business.
So actually, with COVID, what happened was if there was a market of too many weddings and not enough makeup artists. And now, I don't know if you noticed, but the market is too many makeup artists and not enough brides. It's completely shifted. So for me, I hate social media the most. Out of everything that it takes to run a business, social media is the worst. The only positive thing I feel like I got from it is learning to love myself and be confident in who I am. Because in social media, you kind of have to expose yourself, especially what everyone says that you have to share a little bit of your personal life, which I feel like I have a good balance where I share a bit of my personality, a bit of like my humor, like not too much. And a lot of it is really just professional, but still, even just showing your face, you're exposing yourself and it feels very vulnerable. The biggest thing I got from doing social media is gaining confidence in myself. And I'm like, you know what? If someone doesn't like me, that's fine. Or like when I posted my first YouTube video, I was so nervous because I have almost, I feel like on social media, a mask of a bridal makeup artist. And again, it's all professional and beautiful.
Glamorous.
Yeah, glamorous. And then I kind of took off the mask on the YouTube video. So I was so nervous. What will people think about me? Will they view me in a different light? But then I was clicking on it and I saw it only got like 20 views. I'm like, what am I nervous about? No one's even watching it. Next question is, do you think it's unprofessional not to wear makeup for a job?
To each their own. I don't think necessarily. I think it also depends really very much on your clientele. Like I like to wear makeup to my jobs. I find that like a lot of times like my clients will be like, oh, I'm scared of foundation. I'm like, I'm wearing foundation. They're like, oh, foundation doesn't have to be scary then because I do natural makeup. So then I don't have to always be on because that's not my brand, you could say. My brand is natural. But I do like to feel put together and more professional and wear some makeup to work.
Actually, Amit Lee posted like a reel where she said she thinks it's unprofessional. Like, this is your job. You need to represent what you're doing. Not that you have to wear a full glam face. It can even be just a little bit of lipstick or a little bit of mascara, but just something. Your client is expecting a makeup artist to walk in and then the makeup artist doesn't have makeup on their face. It can be very confusing to the client. And then there were a lot of artists who completely disagreed with her. They were like, what are you talking about? Just because I do makeup, but it doesn't mean I need to put it on my face every day. So I feel like this is very controversial, but I agree with Amit. I feel like especially at the beginning, if you're a beginner makeup artist and you show up with no makeup to work, that makes a bad impression.
I think the bottom line is we are our branding. Just keep that in mind. I keep that in mind every day when I get dressed for work. My clients are going to have a first impression of me. All that they've seen before is what's on my Instagram maybe or my WhatsApp profile. So, and there's also the aspect of bridal touch-up photos that we need to look good for.
Right. Do you think having expensive makeup brands in your kit is necessary? So do you think it's important that your clients see the Dior, the Charlotte Tilbury, the packaging?
I do. I see the reaction on my clients. It depends on the client, but sometimes I'll have clients who themselves are fancy and they want to see that the makeup artist they're paying is fancier than them.
Okay, I am very into deep potting makeup, so I have some really expensive brands. Like I have a Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette that costs 700 shekel. Charlotte Tilbury, NARS, all of the expensive brands. but the packaging is so heavy, and I'm all about, condensing and being very efficient, also not taking so much space. Some makeup artists, they come with all their stuff and they take up like a whole table, and it's like, why? Like, to me, it's just excessive. So I depot everything, which depotting, if you don't know what that means, it means taking the product out of its original packaging and putting it in a smaller packaging, and you have much more room in your makeup kit. So I'm kind of bummed to hear that. Why is it about the looking at the packaging? Like, isn't it about the results on your face?
I think it's both. There's a difference between depotting and a makeup artist showing up and her entire kit is low-end makeup. I definitely have some drugstore makeup too, but that's because it's drugstore makeup that I stand behind. Like, so I don't mind if my clients see that, like, for example, the Maybelline lipsticks. I love them. There are no lipsticks that compare in terms of longevity, but there is, I don't know. I see a reaction on my clients, but I think that there's a difference between a makeup artist coming and opening her kit and everything is drugstore versus everything's depotted. There's also a professional look to that. Again, not all your products have to be expensive. I think that there's a balance. I think the most important thing is to know your products and to stand behind them.
I completely agree. And a lot of times when I have like my foundation bottles, that they all look so cute because they're all like depotted and small. And then my clients are like, oh my gosh, what are those bottles? And then I'll explain to them about depotting. I understand the experience of having your makeup artist come and like seeing the Charlotte Tilbury and like being wowed, and like I understand the allure of that experience. I guess for me it's more about like the service. I want you to be just wowed by my service, by the fact that I give my brides a massage, by the fact that I'm super professional. Like, that's the part that I want to wow you. Have you ever done a groom's makeup?
Yes, I have. The first one was funny because it was actually my friend's brother. And she was like horrified that he asked me. And I was like, it's not a big deal. But he had some like breakouts from his haircut. And like, that stinks. And since then, I've done a bunch of other rooms.
I find it so entertaining because I feel like I'm coming at them with a brush and their body's moving backwards, and like they're scared of it. They're scared of makeup because they've never had it done before. I just find it like the whole experience is just so funny. And so my next question is, what's your take on bridal trials?
First of all, I think we need to ditch the word trial. I think that it should be called a demo, because trial makes clients think that like they're going to come, trial, check you out, and then decide if they want to book you or not. But that's not really what we're doing. We're really doing a demo of what they're going to look like on their wedding day. In the last few weeks before the wedding, usually the brides are working a little less, so they're more flexible and they know what their dress is going to look like. They know a lot more details. And so that's when I like to do the demo, and that's why I call it a demo.
I love that. Can I steal that?
Yes, you can. Not only can you, I think you should. I think that we should change it. It should be called a demo.
I think also, to me, it's like, why do you need a trial? Do you not trust my work? Like, you've seen my Instagram. Do you think I'm like photoshopping? Like, this, what you see is what you get. And to me, it's just a sign of almost like you don't really trust me fully. And that's when I want to talk to you, and that's when I'll get on the phone calls with the brides and I'll try to understand why they don't trust me. Is it the professionalism aspect? Maybe it's not even the artistry itself. Maybe it's other things that are, that they're unsure about. And I try to understand where it's coming from, because you see my work. It's just about tailoring it to you. So whether we'll do a bit more of a smoky eye or a bit of less of a smoky eye, that's at the trial, at the demo, we will figure that out together. And if you trust me, then you know that we're going to get to a result that you're going to be satisfied with, and I'm not going to leave you unhappy. From my experience, most of the times when I get on the phone calls with the brides and I try to understand why they want to book a trial before booking, it's usually because they've had a traumatic experience in the past. So in those rare scenarios that I see that a bride really has just gone through a traumatic experience, I will take a trial before booking, but they're very expensive, my trials. So it's almost like you have to be 90% sure that you want to book me, or else it's just not financially worth it for you. I do think that if you're a bride that you're like on the fence, and just have a phone call, because from a phone call you can really understand about your artist, what they're all about, and ask them straight up. Say like, my trauma was that she said she wasn't going to do cakey makeup and then she did do it. Like, just ask them the tough questions, and I think that would give you a lot of clarity.
I also think that there's an expectation coming out of a trial to like come out like full glam like on the wedding day. It's not
the same.
It's not the same. It's going to be more polished. It's going to be better. It's going to be more perfected on the day of the wedding, because we're trying different things. Sometimes two of the eyes look different. The lipstick is like 3 shades combined because we were playing a lot. That's really what it is. It's a demo. It's like a makeup play date to find what suits the bride.
And by the way, I only do one eye for my brides at the trial. Why? Because in case they want to try out something completely different, a different color eyeshadow, so I can just have the other eye to compare. But you're not coming out with full makeup. Also, that would take way too long. Like, I would have to charge so much more if I was doing that. It's basically like 2 wedding days. Were your friends and family supportive of you? Did they say that it's a real job when you started out?
My family specifically was very, very supportive. My mother was like my biggest supporter. Like she would go to work and tell everybody, and she even got me like some brides. Some friends chose to take me, some didn't. I grew in the middle.
You didn't like take offense? If
No.
like a good friend didn't take you?
I tried not to. Obviously, like feelings are feelings. Now it definitely doesn't bother me anymore if friends don't take me, but then it could be that it hurt me more. But that was mostly because maybe I wasn't so confident in my work. The more confident you are in what you do, the less other people's opinions matter. I worked very hard on myself not to let that, like to separate it. Like just because they didn't hire you doesn't mean that they're not your supporter.
That's amazing. I wish I was at that place. I don't feel like, I just feel like my friends, I share with them everything. Like they see my struggles, they support me all the way through, and they say that they like my work, and I do their makeup for free a ton because they're my good friends. But then when it comes down to it, when it comes to supporting me, paying me for your wedding day, you don't hire me? Like, so this whole thing has been a lie, that you've said that you love my makeup and I've done it for you so many times. You see how hard I work on my business, and then when you can support my business, you don't support me? To me, that would be really hurtful. Now, it's totally different if she has a totally different makeup style. If she's upfront with me, like you're great at the natural, but I don't really like natural. I like dramatic. I wouldn't be offended because I was like, okay, I'm not the artist for her. Like, I have someone, she wanted me to do her makeup but actually wasn't available. Then she took someone else that I recommended her. I said, you know what? It was maybe for the best that I wasn't available, because she liked super glittery, like glamorous look. And I don't really do that. So I was like, actually, if I would have done your makeup, you probably wouldn't have liked it.
I hear what you're saying. There are certain like ideas in people's head, I feel like, around surrounding their wedding. Like people have a lot of other people telling them things like, oh no, you need this person. Like you could only go to her if you're a bride. Shout out to the friends who did take me even when I wasn't doing brides.
Oh, I do want to make a shout out to my first bride. She is my good friend from childhood, and a lot of my friends at the time were getting married. They didn't take me. Listen, I don't blame them. I didn't have experience. I didn't do a bride before, so of course they didn't take me. It makes sense. My friend from childhood, she took me, and I will forever be grateful for her, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be able to say to the next bride that came around
that I do brides.
That I do brides. Give me your best tip for a beginner makeup artist.
So my first tip is to do as much makeup as you can, because experience is how you're going to learn and how you're going to find your personal style. Watch as many makeup videos as you can. I learned a ton that way, and I still do. Represent yourself as a makeup artist you want to be. Like when people ask you what you do, say, I'm a makeup artist. If it's hard for you to say that, go practice in the mirror. I'm a makeup artist. I'm a makeup artist. I'm a makeup artist, because that's how people are going to know you, and that's how they're going to remember you.
My tip would be find out from your clients in advance what looks they're going to want. Ask them, hey, can you send me inspiration photos? And then whether it's a low bun or soft glam, whatever they send you, practice it in advance. That way you're showing up to your job confident. I know what I'm getting into. I know I can execute it. I literally just practiced it the night before. It's fresh in my mind, and you're going to feel so much more confident going into jobs.
I also think that build up your portfolio. In the beginning, for sure, a lot of your pictures are not going to be from clients, and they shouldn't be, because I think you'll get much better pictures from using models, because at a client in the beginning, you might be a little bit overwhelmed from giving the service.
We are a part of people's wedding days, people's most important day of their life. If we don't show up, if we cancel, it's not like, oh, I was sick, I couldn't show up to work. It's a really big deal. So the question is, have you ever had to cancel, or have you ever not shown up for a job?
Okay, so I had one job that I couldn't show up for, but I will say that I was very lucky that day that I was working with Leigh and Epi, and I was 7 or 8 months pregnant, and I woke up and I was throwing up and throwing up and throwing up, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take some medicine and go to work and I'll be fine, and like I'll figure it out, and I called her and she was like, no, don't come. The thing that like convinced me that I shouldn't go to that job was because I knew that that family was covered because Leia was going to do their hair, and so I felt confident that they were good and it wasn't ruining their day. And the next day I had a bride, and I said, I have to feel better, because a bride is not somebody that I could cancel. Sometimes like I had to make the choice of not going to that job. That way I could be there for my bride the next day. And I think that this also ties in a lot to like one of the things why we charge triple for brides is because we're never going to cancel unless, God forbid, there's a life and death situation. I know that a different makeup artist I know told me that she has friends who went the day after a miscarriage. I know a different makeup artist that I worked with her once, and she was the day after a breakup. We come no matter what, and we put our stuff on the side, and we're there for the bride.
Last week I was very sick with like a cold, and my brides, they could tell you I was just blowing my nose every 2 minutes, curling the hair, blowing my nose. They could visibly see that I was sick, I was coughing, and I felt so bad, but I'm like, what is better, that I show up or that like I'm sick and I don't even show up to their wedding day? To me, it happened once that I didn't show up for a job, and it's related to you. My phone must have been, before I went to sleep, maybe on like 15-20%. I plugged it in to charge, put on my alarm on my phone as I always do. It must have been that in the middle of the night there was an electricity shortage and my phone didn't charge. And I had a job that I think I had to be by her at 5:30 a.m. So that means I would have to wake up at like 4 a.m. to get to her by 5:30. I wake up at like 7, I think it was. That 7's a normal time to wake up, but then when I woke up and I saw it was sunlight, I freaked out. You know me, and you told me, and you really calmed me down, where like professionalism is like number one by me, like showing up to your job. Like, I never thought I would say that I didn't show up for a job. Me? Like, there's no way. So when I saw that it was sunlight, I almost like had a anxiety attack, and I called the client immediately and I just started apologizing. She was so sweet about it. That's the thing. This terrible experience, like, God gave me the sweetest woman to for it to happen, because she was totally understanding. It happens to all of us. It's okay, I understand. Thank goodness you were available and you just ran to my client and you took care of her. And I just wanted to thank you so, so much from the bottom of my heart for doing that for me. And if she wouldn't have anyone, I don't know how I would feel. Like, I felt somewhat better, like that at least I sent someone to take care of her. I took responsibility for my mistake. So I just wanted to thank you again so much for that.
Of course, I felt so bad for you. It's the nightmare, because like we take our jobs very, very seriously, and I know that you do, and you're very professional. I know that when I have those early morning jobs, like, and I'm sure that you're the same, like we don't sleep the same. We don't sleep as deep because we're so nervous.
So that's my biggest tip. Buy an old-fashioned alarm clock that like runs on like batteries or something, so that even if the power goes out, some device doesn't wake you up, you always have a backup. So what I start to do, I'm like fanatic, but like I have 3 alarms. One on my current phone, one on my old phone that I don't really use, but I only use it for an alarm, and another on the old-fashioned alarm clock. So I try to space them like a minute apart so they don't ring all at once. And the main thing is, I think, learning from your mistakes.
In a way, like every single one of our jobs, every time we go to a bride, it's like the first day of a new job or the first day of school, like those jitters. It's like it's really before every single bride, because like we're going to a new place that we have to find, and it's not like a job that you could go to and like you start at 8:15 and if you get there at 8:20 then your boss won't say anything. No. We want to be there early, we want to be there on time. Every single day is a new first impression that we're giving.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, we take it very seriously. We want our clients to know that.
So when brides write reviews about me, this is something that I didn't notice that makes such an impression. You say you're going to show up at 9 a.m. and you show up exactly 9:00, not like 8:59 or not 9:05. If you show up exactly on time, they're going to be like, wow, she's really professional.
I always like make sure to show up 2 minutes early, and then like I'll even wait outside a minute or two, and then the minute the clock turns to the exact hour, I knock on the door.
Sometimes if I arrive like 20 minutes early, I'll text them and be like, hey, I arrived a bit early. Is it okay if I come? Maybe we'll get like a head start and then we'll be less stressed. Or maybe in the meantime, I could drink a coffee. And if they say yes, that's great. And if like I haven't really organized the room yet, then that's fine. So you can always ask, like, okay to ask, but whatever the client says, I feel. Or maybe you disagree.
No, I totally agree.
Oh, this was so much fun.
Same here.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.